Hello, this is Wmpyr here to talk about knife combat because I just saw a video earlier of this guy looked like he was military. He could have been, or he could have just been dressed and acting like it. I don't know. But he looked military, some sort of military. I don't know where exactly, if it was US or if it wasn't. And he was teaching knife combat. And to me, this instructor completely and totally failed in one thing. And I myself am guilty of this many, many times, and I try to change it. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about being able to explain your material from the point of view that this is our method instead of this is fact. Now, recent times I've become better and better at doing that, and because I understand that it is a method versus somebody else's method. So my method, which is Escrima, and my own Wmpyr Escrima, could be totally different from somebody else's knife combat method. And at the end of the day, that is, the method means it's my logic, my explanations, my findings, my experiments, my information that I gathered from experimentation and made my own system. And this is what feels comfortable for me. This is what has worked for me. And this creates up my method, right? Which comes from various background training. So anyway, my experience is totally different from somebody else's. So it's not that I'm right, they're wrong, because they got their experiences, and who am I to say, whether they're right or wrong? And also, they might be just like me in the process of still working on it, still developing it. So you can't just take one portion of what I see from them and immediately judge and criticize them, because that thing that I'm criticizing may open doors for them and they might evolve greatly. Who knows? So it's my logic versus their logic. It's my method versus their method. My way of thinking versus their way of thinking. My training versus their training. So it's not my fact and I am right and they are wrong. Or maybe I'm wrong and they're right. That's not the way that I view it anymore. And I strongly suggest for others to, start thinking this way. And it will make a lot more sense for you. Because if you come from I'm right, you're wrong, this kind of righteousness, it just causes a lot of problems, a lot of egotistical problems as well. It's not a good, healthy way to think. It just breeds arrogance, and it's not accurate. It's not true anyway. There is nothing on the planet that we could say is, this is right, everything else is wrong. That is just a really, really insecure person talking. Okay, no matter how strongly and how tough and confident they look, they're actually an extremely insecure, negative person that you want to stay away from. So anyway, the reason why I say this is because this person, let's say, would say something like, you want to hold the knife in the reverse grip and you want to stab. And they don't tell you why. Where's the logic behind it? Okay. Now, I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm saying, what is your logical reasoning behind that? Because if I'm going to use your method, or if someone is going to use your method and they want to be effective with it, they need to know the why. Because there's going to be other people that may not use the reverse grip. They may use the standard grip, the saber grip, and they're going to be coming after you, and they develop that. So your development, is it as good as their development? Is your logic as sound as theirs? That's what it comes down to. So if you just say, we fight with reverse grip because we like it more, or because this is better, that's weak, very, very weak logic there. Okay, so you need to be able to explain it better or understand it much better. Another thing, for example, in the realm of knife combat, something that always comes up is knife fighting. What are your thoughts on knife fighting? Now, some people say knife fighting doesn't exist anymore because in a real life situation on the street, if someone's going to use a knife on you, that blade's going to be hidden. You'll never see it. Okay, and showing the blade and fighting that way, that's like a duel, and that is historically not done anymore. Okay, so that might be their logic, and I'm not saying they're wrong. It actually makes sense to me, right? But then, you know, I would say that, well, if someone does come to assassinate me, if I don't see the knife, then I'm screwed. I need to be able to see the intent, and that's awareness. So if I don't have awareness, then that's it. It's game over. I'm just going to get stabbed to death. But if I have the awareness and I see them and I bust them and I thwart their initial attack, because that's the deadliest one. It's coming out of nowhere, and that's the one that was going to take me out. So if I'm able to see that, catch that, and not let it happen, then I don't care if they have combos or whatever lined up, or the next attack's even deadlier. I'm not going to give them that chance. Now we might be in a knife fight if they continue. If they're smart, they'll leave, and they go, we messed up. We got to get them off guard again, right? So at that point right there, a knife duel type, knife fighting does exist. So, once again, it's about how much have you really thought this out, right? And so in the video, this is another thing I saw. You slash and then you stab. That was one of the combos. So you're learning like your angles of attack type of stuff, that what we call in the Filipino martial arts, so your diagonals and your horizontals and your verticals, right? So you're learning that stuff, and you're saying those are slashes, right? So you slash and then you can stab afterwards. And then he was talking about the reverse, where you could stab first and then slash. And that, right before that, if the guy was criticizing other knife people and saying, you know, you guys are slashing, blah, 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 and it looks all fancy, but there's no power behind it. And he says, what really gets the job done is stabbing. And once again, I'm not here to, you're wrong. That's not what I'm doing here. But I'm here to listen to your logic, okay? And find holes in your game. Because I'm bringing my game, and I've looked at it backwards and forwards, trying to eliminate the holes in my game. And it's going to be your game versus my game, okay? So in this person's game, he's saying that in a real life situation, you need to stab and stab hard to do damage. And the rest is a joke. It's meaningless. But then he said he stabs and he slashes. Wait a minute. I thought you just said you need to stab hard. If you are going to stab hard, how can you go into a slash? If you've done this kind of training on actual, real targets, then you're going to see that when you stab hard, you're not going to be able to go into a slash. And if you try it, you will disarm that's what happened to me. I tried it, and that the blade got stuck into the fabric, and I disarmed myself. I hurt my hand, hurt my fingers. That is what happened. So, that's where I go, okay, there's a hole in your logic there. Okay, that's a combo that I'm not going to be worried about from you. You say you're going to use it, but that combo is not going to exist for you. Or if you try it, it's, you really, I could tell that you don't have that much practice at it. You've never really tested it out. I know that now, so that is what's important when we're looking at all this stuff. How tight is your game? So I hope that makes sense. That's it for now. Thank you for viewing, and take care, folks.